Alright, let's see if I do this right. Alright. Share it. Okay, I'm getting this right. That's creepy seeing myself. Like, really fucking creepy seeing myself. Alright. Trying to get this put together. This is so fucking weird. Like, creepy by myself. Okay. Alright. Okay. Did I get it right? Hi.
Hey.
I'm glad you found it. Alright. I'm grabbing Thomas in here too. At least I hope.
Good. Good to hear that. I'm gonna try to keep up with the.
Yeah, apparently that guy said that it wasn't going down. Like, no, still going down. What the fuck?
Oh no! What an idiot!
I know, right? Okay, I'm add Curtis. I mean, we could start and just ask the questions ourselves. Oops, sorry, Danny.
Yeah. As I told Shaw through direct message, I was like, "Hey, the Curtis thing's going down," but I don't know where he is at either.
Yeah, he hasn't responded to me at all. Okay. That's Curtis' email. I'm probably gonna have to have him.
And Hank, if it is, if you're gonna have a lot of background noise, make sure to mute yourself so we don't get a lot of background noise from you.
Yes.
I'm hoping I'm at home right now, so I'm hoping the Great Dane doesn't go crazy outside my door and start barking.
Yeah, my dad's like trying to figure out how to get up here. I'm like, no, don't come up here. Right. So, hello to our viewers. We're just trying to get everything set up because I have no fucking idea what I'm doing.
Way to drop the ball, fat guy. Come on.
See, at least serial killer has an excuse he wasn't going to be here. But I think Shaw actually did kill himself. And Fat Guy, like, lied. Sorry, I see a lot of you guys have posted questions, so awesome. And then, yeah, as soon as he joins, we can get this shit started.
Woo.
Oops. All right.
It's Nicole.
Hi. I didn't even have the screen on.
Hey, Nicole.
Hi.
And MK is here.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Mary.
Yeah.
Howdy.
Oh, two of my favorites. So, how are you both?
I'm doing fantastic, and I'm trying to get Thomas in here, too, to get some Season 3 representation.
Woo, woo.
Just send out a blanket one to all of the awesome nerds.
I'm in your room.
Wait, what? Yeah, you are.
Yeah, you are. I mean, I am. Yeah?
Nice. So I've gotten a ton of questions. It's going to be awesome. And
You have
I'm
a lot of questions?
Yes, we do.
Oh, good.
Thanks for doing this for us, Curtis.
Yes.
I know
You bet, sweetheart.
I'm super excited about you getting here.
And I
Mary
told
Kate?
him how.
Mary Kate? Are you there?
Uh-oh.
Is
Is we there, sir?
Mary Kate disappear?
Oh no, I think she froze.
No, she froze up. Okay. Well, when she comes back, I have something to show her. You have a cold?
No, I just have like a dry throat coming from work because it's a really dusty environment and it sucks.
Okay.
So, no,
I
surprisingly not.
I like your picture in the background.
Oh, thank you. I have a whole King of the Nerds wall.
Yeah, I like that.
There.
Yeah. Oh, look at that. You've got everything.
Hmm?
Yeah.
I even got. I'm continuing the signature trend, and I have Yaya's signature on. There we go. On the shield.
Wow.
Slowly
That's
getting.
impressive. Very impressive.
It's one of my prized possessions for King of the Nerds related stuff.
Yep.
Because it matches my shoulder.
I think you have more than I do, actually.
Really? No. But you have all the background goodies, or the backstage, behind the scenes goodies.
Yes, I do.
So. Oh, I think MK came back. Maybe.
What happened to MK?
I know her connection was a little shaky for a while, so.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll see.
All right. So let's.
I think Katie Carell just joined us.
Did Katie just join? Yes.
Katie Carell.
Hey.
Hi. I'm very glad to see Katie Carell too.
Hi. Long time no see.
God. Now, do I have to do anything in particular, like not talk when you guys are talking?
Oh no, you're fine.
Am I all right?
I have to find the questions. It's a long thread.
Okay.
Right. Okay.
Katie Carell, are you okay?
I'm still recovering.
You what?
I'm still recovering. I've been having a lot of like confusion and like a lack of coordination. I just broke my phone this afternoon.
Oh no.
So they said I could have symptoms for like 1 to 6 weeks now, but they did a CAT scan and there's no permanent damage, so I'm gonna be okay.
Oh God.
Oh.
It's terrible.
That's awful.
So I'm just really lucky I was wearing a helmet.
And this was with
Yeah.
Yeah.
My God.
Yeah, I
That's
put a dent in my helmet. That's how hard I hit it.
Oh my God. You have like a noggin of steel.
I know. I'm super lucky.
That's fantastic.
You are. Holy crap. Oops. All right. Okay. I found the questions.
Okay. And Mary Kate is back.
Yes.
Really bad internet here, so my Wi-Fi is really sketchy, so I might pop in and out.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, Oban.
I know that name.
This is in your honor, Mary Kate.
I'm honored
Oh,
for
nice.
sure. I'm waiting for my dad to get back from from his many travels, so we can crutch. So
Good.
Yeah, so have a great day.
All right, now I have a couple of questions because you still don't. You aren't asking me any. So.
Oh, I was actually getting ready to start talking, but you can ask a question first.
All right. So who am I talking to exactly?
Well, right now, like.
I mean, I know who I'm talking to because I can see on the little strip down here. But this is just 4chan in general, or is it a specific group in 4chan, or what?
This particular group, it's under the subforum called TV, and we actually have, they actually have threads that they list as KOTN, so it's just King of the Nerds exclusively.
Okay.
So these are 4chan fans of the show.
Okay, great.
And I told them the story of how you were surprised that.
Oh, I can't believe that. I mean, I was in my recollection was I was at Lexington. It was a year ago exactly. Oh, Thomas is here.
Yeah.
Excellent. Hi, Thomas.
Heyo.
Thomas and I live almost in the same neighborhood, but we have to see each other like this. So I was at Lexington Comic-Con, and you called me, and you said, would you read this fanfic? Is this the way I remember it? It was late at night, and I was a little... anyway, so I got the fanfic, and I read it out loud, and everybody thought it was very amusing. And then I didn't know that I was actually on. Wasn't Brandon involved in this too?
Yes.
Yeah,
Brandon was your drunk sex support.
Yeah, and so then I read that, and until you texted me 3 days ago about this, I didn't realize I was doing that on 4chan. Because, I mean, all I've ever heard of 4chan is that they're, mean and dark and all of this stuff, and so, I sort of stayed clear of it. And then I found out that I'd actually been reading, porn on it. So there you are.
There are some subforums that are not the best.
Well,
places,
I think you'll. Yep.
Oh no! Did we lose him? No, he's here.
Somebody was saying something.
Not all of 4chan's bad, basically.
No, I know that, obviously, because I wouldn't be here otherwise.
Right.
You persuaded me.
I think we've all been very surprised of all the fans too. So sorry. I'm so laggy. I'm so sorry.
That's alright.
That's okay.
I'm on a tablet. I understand.
We still love you guys. So,
How are you, Thomas?
What was that?
How are you?
Doing good. I got 2 tests next week, so that's going to be fun this weekend.
Oh, dear. I'm sorry.
I've still got roped into Steven's thing on Friday, which is going to be fun.
Steven's thing?
The party. I think, did you not hear about it?
No, well, I'm not going to be here. I'm going to be in Vegas.
So that you are having a party.
Well, kind of. I'm doing this supernatural...
Vegas is a party, Curtis.
Yeah, well, yeah. Except I'm not going to be having a party. It's going to be work for me. I'm doing the Supernatural convention on Friday, so I'm going to be there doing that. And I mean, not that that's not a party. I'm sure it is fun, but it's also work. So that's where I'll be. So I'm not. I wasn't aware of this. It's all right. I'm not.
Yeah, it's at Steven's place.
All right. So I have questions, and we'll start with the easy one because it's the most relevant that just happened today. How was meeting Fred Durst?
Oh, well, meeting Fred Durst was so unexpected because, I get these things all the time where I, just show up at some show. And I showed up at KTLA, which I've done before. Bobby and I did it last year. And I showed up there, and there's Fred Durst. But not only is he there, he is also there talking about nerds, and he and I talked for a long time in the green room before either of us went on, and he was saying how when he was young he was a nerd, and he grew up in North Carolina, I think, and it was a tough area, and his interests were no one else's interest, and he was picked on and bullied and all of this stuff. He was astonishing, and I never would have believed it. I just assumed that the guy was a rock star from day one, and but he was one of us, and remains one of us. So we really had a fantastic time, and it was wonderful to meet him. Totally unexpected. And for example, to give you the way that works, last year I was there, and Gene Simmons was the guy who was in the room. So I wind up on these days with rock stars.
Well, but of course, you're a rock star.
Gene Simmons is not a nerd in any definition of the word. So it was a very different experience.
Aww. Was he like, oh my god, it's Curtis? Was he like, what was that? Like somebody had like a zip cord or something. Okay, so next question. Do you have any plans to continue in the company of nerds after the season ends? Because this person could listen to you and Sega just shooting the shit for hours.
Well, yes, we are. In fact, I went in the other day and talked to 5x5, who are responsible for that. They basically produce that. They give us the space and give us the thing and everything. And I went in there, and Genevieve and I had talked before, and I had said that I want to continue the show with her. And, obviously we have very busy schedules, so we can't guarantee that both of us will be there every time, but we're both going to try to be there as often as possible. And I said to her that she should make up a list once the show is over, before we find out whether we're getting picked up or not. We can make a list of nerds or nerd topics that we want to talk about. And whatever we want to talk about, we can talk about in the company of nerds. I mean, one of the great things about that idea is that it encompasses anything. So just today, she sent me her list of things that she wants to do, and they're very awesome. And I've got a list that I'm working on now. So we will definitely continue doing that. Definitely.
Awesome.
And of course, it'll be a great opportunity also to stay in touch with the nerds. So anybody who is in town who wants to come in, we can do just an episode on them or their interests, and we'll keep everything alive that way.
And if all things go according to plan, I might be going there soon. Yay!
Yes, I like the sound of that. I like the sound of that. And then Katie can come in and talk about robotics or the importance of wearing helmets when you're snowboarding. And Thomas can come in and talk about bronies and
stuff and things.
You can update us on the Find a Girlfriend for Thomas and all of that stuff. So we've got, it's wide open. It's wide open.
I'm totally unrelated but related since Katie was brought up. Katie, I've always loved how on your LinkedIn and your everything, you're not a mechanical engineer, you're a maniacal engineer, and I love that. I've never
It's gotten me a surprising amount of interviews and just things because it's a conversation starter. People are like, "Oh, you're the maniacal engineer. Tell me about that."
It works. That's brilliant. I love it.
My business cards say it too.
Oh yeah.
And my business cards are stickers. That's a fun conversation piece.
Oh, that's excellent. Katie, where are you?
I am in Lancaster, Pennsylvania now.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So I work for, I started working in December for a company called Tate Towers that designs concert tours, basically. mostly like pop concerts, but we do like rock shows too, like AC/DC, Rolling Stones, but like Lady Gaga, Katy Perry, and we did the Oscars, the stage for the Oscars recently.
That's fantastic.
So it's just incredibly exciting because everything is like a fast-paced thing, and you're creating these crazy machines that like don't exist anywhere ever. So you're like problem solving really fast and seeing these things get built, and it's insane. I got to go climb on top of something I've been designing for 2 months that was set up in our rehearsal space today, and it was just like this surreal experience.
Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, congratulations. I'm so glad to hear about that. Mary Kate?
Yes.
What are you, where are you and what are you doing?
I am finishing up, I'm finishing up my first year in grad school, so I'm working on my thesis and just kind of doing the whole extending my education thing right now. I'm still in Starkville, Mississippi, so still doing that thing. So just kind of doing that. Not nearly as exciting as Katie's thing right now.
No, it's very exciting. Everything is very exciting. I just want to be. I want everybody. I want the nerds to say these things just because I want to. I mean, I follow you all, but I just like to hear those things. What? So Nicole?
Yeah.
You are.
Oh yeah.
You're on. Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, just came back from Boston from PAX East. Made a few connections there. I have an interview tomorrow with a dream company.
Yeah.
Like just a dream job of mine. Yeah. So.
Will you let us know about the outcome?
Hell yeah!
Okay.
And she better.
And
I'm so excited for you.
That's fantastic. It's really great news. And what about you, Thomas? You've got the tests coming up, and you're here, and I mean, in the
I'm still living down the fact that we had hail in my hometown a week ago. That was weird. You guys hear about that?
Yeah.
Where the entire Huntington Beach coast was covered in a blanket of snow like hail, and that's rare.
Yeah. Yeah, we should probably get used to it, though.
All the changing in the weathers?
Yeah, yeah.
I remember once Milwaukee snow.
I had some friends, the daughters of friends of mine who came out for a visit once, and we took them to dinner in Pasadena, and it was one of those weird, freakish things, years ago this was, where suddenly it started hailing, and I mean serious hail. And we were in a restaurant on Colorado Boulevard, right around the corner from our first Nerdvana. And everybody in the place, this restaurant, rushed to the windows to see the hail come because no one ever sees weather here. You know, it's either hot or sort of hot. And so this huge restaurant, everybody rushes, and except for these three girls who came from Pennsylvania, from Carlisle, Pennsylvania, and they're looking out going, it's hail. So, and we go, this is California. We don't get this here. It's amazing when this kind of thing happens. And it's, you know, truly shocking. So.
When it rains, everyone forgets how to drive also.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely true. Even when it's just sprinkling. I mean, I was just out now, and there was, you know, just a light sprinkle, and people were weaving because they don't know how to drive. Anyway, okay, so those are all the people I know. What else is happening?
Well, how are you, and where are you going? That was a question I was just brought up.
Well, I'm here in LA, and today I've been doing press, and I'm doing more press tomorrow. I'm doing a radio tour tomorrow, as well as the Reddit. I'm doing a Reddit at 2 o'clock Pacific time and 5 o'clock Eastern time. And then I go straight to the airport and go to Las Vegas. And the next day I'll be doing all day doing the Supernatural. Then I come back here, and on Sunday I'll be going back on Dan Harmon's show, Harmontown.
Yay!
Because he has been, I went on 2 weeks ago to, you know, promote Nerds, and we had so much fun that he asked me back again last Sunday, so I went back last Sunday, and then he said at the end of that, he said, well, now if you don't come back, you're just an asshole. So now it appears that I'm going to be going back to Dan Harmon on Sunday evenings whenever I'm available. So I'll be going back on Sunday to do that. By the way, it appears, I can hardly believe this, and I just, it's unbelievable, but it appears that I'm going to miss the finale of King of the Nerd because I will be doing the I'll be doing the Supernatural convention, and I just looked at, they just sent me the
itinerary,
and I start at 10:30 in the morning and I go until 10:30 at night. So I may actually miss, unbelievable. I mean, everything that I've done this whole season, even though I've been working on the day, I still wind up somehow managing to catch the show or at least tweet. And I may miss this one. So if I do miss it, you know that I'm thinking of you.
Aww.
So that's all I have. Next question.
Curtis.
Sir.
I just want to say I've been watching you on TV since I was a kid, and I always identified as you when I'd watch all the movies you were in, because you were kind of like the outcast character or the weirdo, even among the other nerds. But anyway, I just want to ask, who came up with the idea to troll everybody when Amanda and Colby were going in the Nerd Off? I'm really nervous, sorry.
No, wait a minute. I'm sorry. I didn't understand the question.
When Amanda and Colby were going in the Nerd Off, who came up with the idea to sort of troll them and say it was a math one?
That. You know, that was absolutely spontaneous. It was. I mean, everybody who's here, who's been on the show, knows how it works. And basically, we've been in the throne room, and we were doing the introduction, you know, of everybody coming in, and we filmed that, and then Bob and I did the Throne of Games thing, and we did that, and then we were setting up again the cameras to do the main part of it, and at that point, one of the one of the showrunners actually, it was I think it was Charles, came on my earbud. I've got a connection to them, and he said we knew that they had been having this discussion about whether it was going to be horror or whether it was going to be math, and so we had been talking about the fact that they were thinking about that and thought it was kind of funny. And then suddenly at the last minute he says, "I've got an idea. Why don't you just tell them that the challenge is going to be applied mathematics," and whatever it was that I said, and so I just said it, and it was, I mean, I understood why he wanted to do it, but apparently there had been some talk about it, because as near as we can tell, no one has ever done that, where you're actually in the middle of explaining to your contestants what the challenge is, and you just fuck with them. That's not, it's not something that's common, because the whole point of it, I mean, you all know, you nerds know, that it's very specific. You can't mess with that part of it. Everything else is unscripted, but when you're describing what they're supposed to do, you have to be really specific, because if there's any confusion at all, they, in theory, could come back and say, well, I should have had that because I misunderstood it. Blah, 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 blah. And so we have to be really specific, but it was too good a joke to pass up. They had set us up so beautifully by this endless discussion. And I mean, you saw none of it compared to what there really was. But they're going on and on about, well, maybe it's math, maybe it's horror, maybe it's math, and well, what if it is horror? And of course, Jonathan is going through agony trying to figure out whether he should do it or should not do it, and what would happen if this, and she's thinking how horrible it would be if it turned out to be Math and it was her. How could you resist that joke? So he just said it, and it was literally the last second before I was going to say it. He said, "Wait a minute, say this." And they responded perfectly. So
it gave me terrible flashbacks to debating with BD if he was going to go into the spelling bee challenge.
Wait a minute, which one was that?
When I went into the spelling bee challenge the night before, Brian and I were discussing how we thought it might be something literature-based and he might want to volunteer as tribute, and then we just didn't want to take the risk.
Well, do you remember, it's funny you mentioned that, because we thought about that at the time. When we were doing this episode, everybody started talking about Katie and Brian. And you remember, I'm sure, or maybe you don't, but when you were doing that and you were in the spelling bee and you all came in, there was this feeling that maybe he was going to do that he was going to step up and be a tribute for you. And so if you see that episode now, I'm doing the intro to it, and I'm slowing down in my introduction, and I'm saying, "So now, Katie, it is time for you," and I'm just waiting for Brian to say, "No, I will do it. Brian, will step forward. I will take," and I kept, and then I looked at Brian. I looked right at him finally, as if to say, "Now is the time." And he was looking there, sort of frozen. And finally we realized, of course you don't see any of this in the cut because it took forever, but we were waiting for him to do this, dramatic tribute and stand up for Katie, and he just, sits there. So it was funny though. But we were talking about you in this episode because of that.
Oh my god. And if there's one thing I know from experience is when they're fucking with you, it's believable. Oh yeah, you're going home right now. Oh shit, I actually believed you.
Yeah. No, I know.
Alrighty, so next question. Let's see here. Do you think if Season 4 is picked up, knock on wood and any other thing I can think of, do you think Season 4 will be announced faster than Season 3 due to ratings?
I hesitate to say too much about it, but I would say yes. I would say you have to realize one of the things that happened last year, and even I was having a problem with it. One of the things that was happening last year was that the new people at TBS were coming in, and the current regime was sort of on the way out. And whenever that happens with a network, there's always a lot of question about, you have new people coming in, they have their own ideas about what they want for the network. Maybe they have specific shows that they want to bring in, or, new people and so on. So it's all of this, very uncertain. And because there was a new regime coming in last year at this time, that was the main reason that we were being held up for so long, was because we didn't know what the network was going to do, what the network was going to want, what their taste was going to be. In theory, the new network could have come in and said, "You know what, we're going to get rid of all of our unscripted stuff and just do half hour." We wouldn't know. So we were constantly waiting for these, the official word about whether it was going to happen or not, or and they made sort of an arbitrary decision, which is understandable given the hugeness of this change, that they were going to announce their scripted stuff first, and then their unscripted stuff. So we didn't get the pickup until June, and we were starting in July. So everything last year was sort of crazed because it happened so late, but unfortunately the circumstances were such that no one's really responsible. It's just the way it goes.
Fair enough. Let's see here. Next question. Of the 3 seasons, what's your favorite nerd war, and what's your favorite nerd off?
Oh God, that's really hard.
Prepare for a flame war.
God, I wish I had an answer for that. I don't really know. I mean, it's hard for me to remember also, to be honest. There's a lot of them. And of course, because we're in the middle or towards the end of this season, the ones that are sort of sticking in my head are those. I think season 1, I really liked the live gaming one, where they were doing the hovercrafts. And I liked, well, I loved the Nerd Anthem. I loved the Nerd Anthem in 3 too, but the Nerd Anthem in season 1 I think was really awesome. Oh God, there's so many of them. It's hard for me to even, it's like asking me who my favorite nerd is. It's really hard for me to say. I mean, there's so many of them. I can't really say. I wish I could answer that better, but I mean, they come up with these things. You come into a meeting and they come up with these great ideas, and you're just so dazzled by them. And the truth is, they've all worked really well. And I can't come up with a favorite.
Curtis, you're the Sherlock guy. Of course, it's got to be the murder-solving one.
No, because the Sherlock thing is one thing, but the murder-solving was really sort of CSI thing. It wasn't so much a Sherlock Holmes thing. But
you still got to dress up, though. That's what matters.
No, I did get to dress up, and that was nice. I love dressing up. You probably know that.
I love that about this current season, that there's been more costumes for the nerds.
I don't know. I think, you know what? I think the reason is because in the first season we had the nerds create everything themselves, which is ingenious, but it does take a long time. And so, like in the first season cosplay, the nerds had to create their costumes from scratch. But in the second and third, they had pieces that they could put together, and they've made their own stuff as well. But
I just like how this season we had that challenge with the where everyone was dressed up in the Monty Python costumes.
Oh yeah.
That was mine.
I mean,
I claimed that one.
And in our season, the only thing that came close was Nerditch, and that was only the people who were actually in the challenge got to dress up and do cool stuff, and then you guys, everyone got to have fun.
That's right. Well, but you know what? The reason for that, though, is the visual, because we wanted to do a real tip of the hat to Monty Python and the Holy Grail, and the only way to do that is to really do it, if you're going to do it. So, look what Thomas has. Very nice. I love the stuff that you guys get away with. It's fantastic. So they had to create those because we wanted the vision, the image of them, galloping through the woods like Monty Python did. That's the reason that they did that.
All right. I think I'm going to have to jump a question because I think 4chan will kill me if I don't ask it at this point in time. So, Curtis, Revenge of the Nerds reboot when?
Never, I would think. If they're going to do it, they tried to do it once and it didn't work. So I think that's not going to probably happen. But they may. You never know. I mean, I just don't think it's ever going to happen with us. I think we're too old.
Revenge of the Nerds 5?
I mean, it's got to get to a point where you just say, look, you guys are too old for this. So,
Revenge of the Nerd Next Generation.
We did that. It's on the video. It's on the box set. And it's called Revenge of the Nerds The Next Generation. So you can't really do that again.
The next revelation, yeah.
Yeah, no, I think it's run its course.
Alrighty, so next one's gonna be a little bit of another combo question. In terms of King of the Nerds UK, did you have anything to do with the international versions, or did they just sell the concept / name? And do you know when it's going to be coming out?
Yes, I actually didn't have. I didn't. None of us had anything to do with it. It was. They bought the idea of it, the concept, but I have not seen it. I'm supposed to be getting that season, that first season, this week. So I'm going to get a chance to see it, and I understand that it's not like ours in a lot of ways. I'm not. It isn't quite as broad in the comedy department. It's more of a general sort of. It's a little more serious because in the UK they don't have the Revenge of the Nerds thing that we have here. So that whole idea of that kind of comedy doesn't really translate. So, but I haven't seen it, so I don't know. And I do know that it's been put back in the UK, and it has been put back until next year. We just found that out yesterday.
Wow.
And I have no idea why. It's really weird.
We were all looking forward to it.
Yeah, so was I.
It filmed around the same time as season 3, didn't it? Roughly?
Yes,
yeah,
we were filming exactly the same time because, in fact, they asked Bobby and me to come over and shoot something with them, and we said, well, we can't because we're shooting our version. So that was at the same time. I think almost exactly at the same time.
Wow.
But I don't know what the reason is, but I've heard that it's been pushed back until 2015.
I would hate to be one of those nerds.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you do the show, it seems like forever between the time that you shoot it and the time that it actually airs.
Exactly.
They've already waited this long. They're going to wait another year.
Wow. To even see all their fun experiences that they have, because that's one of the things I loved about, like, it was so hard to wait just to see, because we weren't allowed to, take pictures on our cell phones or anything. We just had to relive everything from our memory. I can't imagine waiting that long.
I know. Wow. I know. It's a strange thing, but I mean that's the way it always works with these shows. It's frustrating. Right. You want to be able to share things and have pictures and all that stuff, but.
What do you think caused it to be pushed back? Do you think it's an editing thing?
I have no. It's done. The show is done. It's a scheduling thing. It's not. It has nothing to do with the show itself, and it's not like they're saying we're not going to show it. It's also England. They have a different system, and they. The thing about King of the Nerds is because of whether it's our version or theirs, it's something which is really timeless. It's nothing that it doesn't matter to them ultimately whether it shows now or next year. It's they'll show it when they're ready for whatever reason. I don't know.
Okay. So, as an actor, Curtis, are you tired of people talking mostly about Booger?
Am I frightened about what?
Or are you tired of people mostly talking about Booger?
Oh, no, not really. I was thinking that there was a time, maybe when I was younger, maybe 20 years ago, where I was kind of tired of it. But it's something where, because people tend to tell stories, I get a bunch of drunk assholes yelling at me in the street. That I can do that. But if somebody comes up and talks about Revenge of the Nerds, or Booger, whatever, as being something that's important to them because of this, and they tell me a story, that can be really moving. and it makes you feel like you've accomplished something. And it's a small thing in the large sense, in sort of a large world sense. Doing a part in a stupid comedy is a very small thing, but it pleases people and it makes people happy, and they relate to it for whatever reason. And so I really like it. I like the fact that it speaks to people, not just the character, but the movie.
So back to King of the Nerds. What was the reason the change? The change was made to predetermined teams as opposed to team captains.
What happened was we decided that what really is important on this show is the nerds, and if we had the whole picking of teams, that takes up such a huge amount of time of the first episode. And what the audience, we figure, really likes is to get to know the nerds. They've just seen them, they're just introduced, and then it becomes this whole thing of picking teams. And then after they do all of the discussion about picking teams, there's the actual process of the picking teams. And it takes this huge amount of time, which really could be better spent just playing with nerds. And we figure that people really would rather spend time getting to know the nerds. So that was the main reason for it. And of course...
I have a similar question.
What?
Why didn't we have a people's nerd this year?
That was just because I think we thought... I don't know what the reason was. I think we just felt like, it gets into another whole issue about voting and, borderline popularity thing, which takes a lot of time for us, where we have to, say, okay, you guys vote for your favorite nerd. And it's not that there's anything wrong with the idea of it, but I think we just wound up feeling like it takes a lot of responsibility on our part to have other people make these voting choices. Whereas, like, for example, your people's nerd, Jaywitz, is like a genius idea and would probably have happened. He would have come up anyway in our discussions because of who he is. But the whole idea of having this be a competitive thing at that stage is, I think we just thought, let's keep away from that. Mm-hmm. I think that's the only reason.
So, is there supposed to be an overarching moral of King of the Nerds?
A what?
Like an overarching moral to all of King of the Nerds.
A moral?
Yeah. Is there a moral to the story?
I would say that it's hard to say because I have my own idea about what the moral is, and I'm not sure that necessarily is what TBS's moral is, or 5x5's moral is, or anyone's. I have a pretty good sense from talking to everybody that we're all sort of on board with the same idea. And it goes back to Revenge of the Nerds, and the original idea that Bobby and I had when we first came up with the idea of this show, which was the idea of putting all of the nerds in a house and doing all of this stuff. That the details were not immediate, but the idea was to do something that celebrated nerds, celebrated nerd culture, celebrated the idea of inclusion and acceptance. And I've said this before in many times, so forgive me, but one of the things that repeatedly I've said over 3 years to the people that we work with, I will always say, when we get to a point in a season where things are getting tense and difficult. And I will always say, go back and watch the last scene of Revenge of the Nerds when Bobby and Tony are at the pep rally and they're talking about what being a nerd means to them, and they come out of the closet, in a manner of speaking. And I said, this is what we always had in mind about what this show should be, is what the movie was, which was acceptance, tolerance, accepting everybody, no matter how they've been diminished or bullied or put down, whatever it is. Ultimately, as nerds, we have to embrace one another. We have to embrace the idea of nerd community, and that's my moral of what it is. By the same token, it is a television show, and it's a competition reality show. So there are other elements that are a part of that. But my feeling is that so far in the 3 seasons, by the end of it, whatever bumps happen in the middle, by the time you get to the end, you have that expressed. And anybody of you, nerds, actual nerds who've been on the show, except for Katie, who's never made our premiere party, but I think she's coming next year.
I'm gonna try.
But the idea is, she's only missed it because she's working and busy, and we love that. But but if you were in my house on the night of the party, it gives you a sense of what the real feelings of these people are for each other and for the show. So it distresses me sometimes because I know that as far as the audience is concerned, they look at the frustrations and the anger and the things that pop up from time to time on the show, and they think, well, these people don't like each other, or they're just like everyone else. Well, they are just like everyone else. That's the way the world is. People, you try putting 12 people in a house and for a month and put them under that kind of pressure and see whether you could get through it without cracking every once in a while. That happens. But the idea of that moral of acceptance and everything, I think, ultimately is expressed by these people who have done the show, and hopefully the people who will keep doing the show.
Yay! I don't know if you noticed, Curtis, but we have another nerd that has joined us today.
Hi, Curtis.
Oh, it's Jonathan. Oh, hi, Jonathan. How are you?
Hi, Curtis. Good.
I am
a little nervous for Friday. It's going to be scary. Or good, I don't know.
Yeah, I know, because you don't even know how it turned out.
I have no idea. God.
It's not aired yet, right?
That's right, yeah. I'm going to be sitting there with my popcorn, yelling at it.
I know. I was saying earlier, it's very distressing for me because I'm going to miss it on Friday night.
So I'm sure you'll see the tweets.
No, I'm going to be away from my computer. It's terrible. Oh, but I mean, everybody has to send me texts on my phone, since you all have them, telling me who won.
Okay.
Sure. What's your number?
Well, I'm talking about ready.
Oh, sad fat guy.
I remember this is 4J.
Hey, I tried.
My number out.
Yes, I tried.
That was a good try, man.
Good save. Alrighty. Next question.
Oh, wait a minute. Can I ask something?
Oh, yeah. Guess you have to ask Jonathan.
Can I ask Jonathan if he has a question?
For you?
Yeah, just in general.
So how I would say, maybe this is already answered, I came in late. I'm personally interested is, I feel like there have been a lot of emotions coming from the people who viewed this season, right? People are very strongly opinionated. Is it what you expected? Like, yes. I don't know. You didn't expect that.
That's a really good question. I'm kind of staggered by it. I think it's indicative of how the show has grown. Because in the first season and the second season, people were still sort of catching up with it in the first and second season. In the second season, we had the thing with Zach, that started with Zach and Mary Kate and then went on into the whole house. And that sort of took all of the attention in that one. Interestingly enough, this season we have The Secret Six. And obviously I knew about The Secret Six, and I knew that this was something, a strategic thing that was happening. It never dawned on me that people would react as emotionally as they have about The Secret Six. I mean, why is this such a big deal? Maybe somebody can tell me.
Okay, well, I have a theory as a member of it.
All right, let's hear your theory.
Okay, I mean, it's the whole point of, I think, if you're a nerd and you're watching the show, you've at least one point felt excluded.
Yeah.
And I think people get naturally defensive, right? I don't think, as a member of the Secret Six, I never felt like I was, like, intentionally, like, I don't like you and you're going home. It's just like, oh, strategically this makes move.
That's the thing, is that I find weird. I find weird about it is that it's a strategic thing that was done initially as an inter-team women's alliance, which I found really interesting. And I asked Amanda about this the other day. I said, you started this as this idea that you wanted to keep a woman on the throne, so you did this inter-team women's alliance, which is brilliant. I said, did you ever wind up regretting bringing men into it? Because, once the men got into it, it got really complicated. I mean, it seemed like it was a very simple thing initially, and then it got really kind of complicated. But I understand the idea, the exclusion idea, but it isn't bullying. And that's what a lot of people are calling it. They're saying that they don't like it because it's bullying. But, it's not that we haven't had the occasional bullying, unfortunately. That happens. It's happened in every season. But it's very rare, I think, that you would look at something like this, which is a purely strategic thing, and say that it's bullying. It just doesn't seem that way to me.
I think maybe our audience is a little defensive, a little touchy subject.
Well, yeah, I guess so. I mean, I understand. The only concern I have about it is that there's an idea that maybe, people feel it's difficult because, in a way you sort of think that nerds should be somehow better than everyone else. And this is not a reflection on the Secret Six. The Secret Six, I think, is separate. I understand the feeling that people have about it, but I think it was a strategic thing. And it's a strategy in the same way that we've had strategy in other seasons. This one, for some reason, is getting a different response, and it's curious to me.
I think one thing that people are really paying attention to this is the one situation where Ben said to Todd was, no matter what happens, he's going in next. I think that's what people are focusing on and seeing why it's a school kids club before even the challenge started.
No, I understand that. I understand that. Yeah.
But it's funny because Caitlin said that too, and she wasn't in the alliance, right?
Right. It's exactly right. That's
true.
That's true. So, but because Caitlin is on the outside, it's, I guess, more accepting. It's weird, though. I mean, it's kind of a double standard.
Well, I can say as a viewer from the outside that I didn't really think it was bullying, right? Because, I'm a fan of RTS games like StarCraft, and I'm sure Thomas can agree too. Like, there's always this metagame to go after, right? And I don't think that's bullying. I think that's just, strategizing.
Yeah, well, that's my view. And
it's
I mean,
also, when it's on any other reality show, it isn't considered bullying. I know I used to watch a lot of Survivor, like the early seasons of Survivor, and when I went on King of the Nerds, my mom was like, "You got to get in an alliance. That's the strategy. That's what you got to do when you go on these shows." And because that's what always happens on Survivor and stuff. And I just, when I saw this in the season and talked to the nerds this year, it just it made perfect sense to me, and then I was surprised when I saw this backlash they were getting.
Yeah.
Well, like, let me say this, like, if things didn't play out how they did in my season, Xander and I had a sit down talk about being a inter-team alliance at the very beginning of our season 2. Like, that happened. Like, we were gonna have this thing. Both of us, we were gonna be fabulous and fierce and gonna rock the whole damn season, but that didn't happen. So It's just funny that people are reacting so negatively at alliances, because to me, it does. It just makes sense whenever you're on a competition. I know Jonathan's with me here. Have you ever played Diplomacy? Any fucking tabletop?
Yeah.
Like,
you just gotta know when you play Diplomacy, you know that someone's gonna backstab someone, and that doesn't mean they don't like you. That's just
right.
the game.
You just have to be friends afterwards.
Well, I mean, yeah, and that's really true. And I think on this show, I would like to think. I mean, things got a little hairy last year. Okay, I understand that things got a little hairy last year. Regardless of how they wound up at the end and how everybody feels now, there were some pretty tense episodes last year. But that hasn't happened this year. And it seems like, and I can't tell whether it's, in a way, I think it might be because more people are watching the show this year than were watching it last year. So that there's a broader group of people who are putting their opinions out about it. Because, I mean, we got a thing today on NPR. NPR did a thing on King of the Nerds today.
Awesome.
Yeah, which I hadn't even known about. Kayla sent it to me. But they had done this review, these two guys who did a review of King of the Nerds on NPR because they love it. And they've got their issues with it, a lot of it having to do with this whole, question of, the Secret Six. They brought up the Secret Six as something that was a negative. And it's just interesting to me. I mean, everyone's entitled to their opinion. It's not that they shouldn't think that. It's just, I find it interesting that it's, with this season, I don't understand why it's that big of a deal.
Honestly, I was trying to figure out why it was a big deal myself. I've been reading Reddit, I've been reading Twitter, trying to figure it out. And I think it might just be having to do with the audience that's watching it, because bullying isn't exactly a light topic for some people, and so I think it's actually triggered them and brought back some bad memories.
Well, it may do that, and I hate that. I hate that it's bringing back bad memories for people, because that's not the idea. It shouldn't be the idea. But it can't help but be the idea when you're talking about nerds. I mean, because everybody went through all of that stuff, and so it's very likely to do it. And it's not like I'm not condemning people for not liking it. I think it's interesting to me to listen to it. When I say I don't understand it, I don't mean that it's a bad thing, or that it isn't even a helpful thing for us. If we're allowed to go into a fourth season, we always look at this kind of stuff. And when people post these kinds of things, we pay attention to it. We're not ignoring it, and we're listening to it. And it's one of the reasons I keep going back to it and asking about the reason for it, is because I do genuinely want to understand what the reason is. And because, it was like in the first season, give you an example, and I'm going to be careful how I say this, because I don't want to get any more in trouble than I already am. But at the end of the first season, with when it came down to Genevieve and Celeste, and we went through the whole voting thing, it was not a good idea. We knew it was not a good idea at the time. It was what we came up with. It was a last minute thing because we were just starting it. We were just learning our way through it, working our way through it, and it seemed like the way to go, but we weren't really happy with it, not because Celeste didn't deserve to win, but because it was a build-up to something which was not nerdy. And everything had been nerdy up to that point, and then it became voting. And it's not, I repeat, because one person was more deserving than another necessarily. It was because voting about who wins something is not a nerdy thing to do. And so we did that, and we learned from it. And believe me, we got. I mean, you think the Secret Six stuff is bad? The response we got from the end of season one was horrible, and we had already, even before the show aired, we knew that we weren't going to go back and do it that way. But we just had to find a way to do it. So much of this stuff is learning for us, and so when you talk about things, when people talk about things that they don't like about the show, it doesn't just go out into the Twitter sphere and disappear. It's read by people, and we pay attention.
So your point is you're in consideration of possible changes to make sure that the show stays as nerdy as possible.
Yes, I mean we're always open for changes, and so if we get a season 4, there will probably be some changes to that. I mean there were changes after season 1, and there were changes after season 2, and there will be again. I mean we can't. The problem with dealing with nerds, we talk about this all the time. It's not like Survivor. We're Big Brother or one of those shows. We're dealing with really smart people, and they wouldn't be on the show if they were not really smart people. And they teach Survivor in college now. I mean, there are college courses about Survivor. That's how. I mean, after 30 years, it's not surprising. But with our show, we have to work doubly hard to keep ahead of our contestants, because our contestants may not be the sort of people who they put on Bora Bora or wherever they put them, but our people are really smart, and they are always ahead of the game. And the times, and this is true of all 3 seasons, where we're sitting there watching them on the monitors, and they're already guessing what's happening 2 steps down. Jesus, how do they do this? So we're always having to up our game and do things differently just to keep ahead of these people. Because season 4 people, if we get a season 4, are going to have seen season 3 in addition to the other 2, and
maybe
have their own ideas, about how it's going to work.
Mm-hmm. Let's see here. Oh, geez, I lost my place on the questions. Crap. There we go. I found it. Huzzah. Let's see. Have you been a pro actor all your life, or did you need a day job after Revenge of the Nerds?
No, I didn't need a day job after Revenge of the Nerds. I started as an actor on stage way before Revenge of the Nerds. I started in 1975 as a professional actor on stage, and I worked day jobs until 1979. And by 1979, I was working on stage shows to the extent that I didn't need to do day jobs anymore. So my last day job was in New York, working in a mailroom in 1979.
Nice.
I'm lucky in that way.
Well, you're also awesome, so.
Well,
Yeah.
but that's very nice of you, but mainly.
Here.
Got a whole group of people in the hangout that would agree.
Yep.
Let's see here. Since the Revenge of the Nerds remake with you guys was shot down, would you like an all-female cast remake of Revenge of the Nerds like they're doing with Ghostbusters?
Ooh.
What a cool idea.
That is a cool idea.
You know what? No one has ever suggested that. That is a great idea.
Well, thank you, Anon, for suggesting it.
Wow. That's a wonderful idea. Of course, problem is, we have no rights to Revenge of the Nerds. I mean, Bobby and I and 5x5 and Electus, who do King of the Nerds, had to go way out of our way to make sure that we weren't actually referencing Revenge of the Nerds, because we never do. We never actually, even though we brought in the cast in season 2 to be part of it, they were brought in as the cast of Revenge of the Nerds, but we can't actually do anything that references it because Fox owns that. So, you know, as much
you were
as
able to get away with that Lambda 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 shirt.
well, that I think was gotten on the internet. I actually had nothing to do with that. That was really funny. I came into my dressing room one day. My dressing room at King of the Nerds, for you guys know because you've been there, is actually in the costume department. There's a big costume room where Robin Gurney is with her team, and one corner of it is this curtain put up, and that's where my dressing room is. So I'm actually like a curtain away from like 6 women who are building all of our costumes. And so I have to walk through their office to get through their workroom to get into my dressing room every day. And I walk into the costume shop, and there's a Tri-Lam store. And I said, what is this? And she said, oh, I thought it'd be fun for you to wear. You should wear this.
I love her, by the way. I love her.
Getting meta again. So it was just arbitrary. It just was one of those things. It was like those of you who, I don't know if any of you know the animated show I did called Dan Versus.
Loved it.
It had the jerk t-shirt. And so I came in one day, and it was all my clothes were dirty, and so they had given me a Dan Versus jerk T-shirt when the show was canceled, and so I just wore it into work. And Robin saw me when I came in and said, "That's fabulous. You have got to wear that shirt. Today you're wearing that shirt." I said, "Okay." So.
Nice. Let's see here. What are some of your everyday hobbies?
Don't have a lot of them. Reading is the main one. I'm a book collector and bibliophile, and that's my big thing. I don't really have any hobbies aside from that.
Like, talk about your amazing vinyl collection.
Sorry?
You can talk about your amazing vinyl collection.
I love listening to music, and I listen to vinyl, so I collect vinyl as well. So books and records. That's
how much time does it take being a TV show producer? That seems like it's a very busy job.
Well, it depends. For me, it depends on how much time I want to give to it. I mean, I like to give a lot to it, so I will spend a lot of time at 5x5 early on before, I'll go to casting sessions, I'll go to budget meetings, I'll go to challenge meetings, all sorts of different things, whatever is going on there. It's not necessary for me to do it, but I like to be a part of that. So I'm part of that, and the casting is one of the more time-consuming of it, because you look at so many tapes, and then you end up bringing a bunch of people in and so on. But I didn't do that in the second season. Those of you who were in the second season know I wasn't there when you guys came in finally. But I was for the third season, and I will be from now on if that has anything to do with it.
From what I've heard, that was a very nice touch for at least some of the applicants. For sure. They were really happy to see you there.
Oh, I like it. I like being a part of it. I like being a part of as much as I can.
Okay. Let's see here. Why is it
It was
stuck on my
intimidating
face?
seeing you in the room for the first time.
Hold on a sec.
Wait a minute.
I'm gonna count, guys. Getting
Oh no.
Hey,
here on the
Katie.
East Coast.
Katie,
My head hurts. So. See you guys, hopefully in person someday.
Yeah, we will definitely.
Bye.
See ya.
Bye.
Thanks for coming.
Let's see here. Oh, shoot, where is it? Oh, here's an easy one. Do you still do American Dad?
Yes, I do. I did one just a few weeks ago, actually, and I never know when or for how many a season, but they just call me up and I go in and do them.
Let's see, another quick one. That's not too much of a quick one, but Curtis, as far as you are concerned, what is a nerd? The cast runs the whole gamut from smart people to super fans. What's the common denominator? And yeah.
What is the common?
What as far as you're concerned, what makes someone a nerd?
Oh well, I mean, I think that it's obsessiveness, it's devotion,
passion.
Sorry.
Passion.
Yeah,
passion that we share.
Yeah, that's the best way of putting it. It's passion about whatever it is that interests you, and it really can be anything. I mean, if somebody were to look at somebody like Kayla, with her interest in cars, for example, you would automatically think, well, that's not necessarily a nerd, because you don't think of nerds as being obsessive about cars. But that's a deeply nerd quality. And, I mean, a bibliophile or I mean, there are the obvious ones that people have always associated with the idea of nerds. Jonathan is, for example, somebody, Mary Kate is somebody who, on the science end, are the sorts of people that you would automatically say, well, those are nerds because they're brilliant in their science fields. But then Nicole is brilliant in her area, and Thomas is brilliant in his area, and I have my own area of expertise, and they're all different, but that's what makes a nerd, is that, I mean, whether you get into that whole idea about what's acceptance and blah blah blah, and the other parts of it that are important to me, the basic thing is that love of something. And maybe other people see you as strange for it, but that's what it is.
Curtis, I have a question for you. How do you live and sleep at night with the fact that you have a skeleton inside you?
How do I live and sleep at night knowing that I have a skeleton inside of me?
Yeah, like those spooky skeletons.
Yeah. No, I get it. I would probably have a harder time sleeping knowing that I didn't have a skeleton inside of me.
It'd also probably be easier to sleep, right? Because you'd be like warbly.
Yeah, but have you even considered you might just be a sock for the skeleton?
Yeah, I no, I never did, but I'm sure now I'm probably going to think about nothing else. But it's an interesting question, though. I appreciate it. What I love about this is I'm looking down and I'm seeing Mary Kate doing the mustache with her hair. One of my favorite things in the world.
You know what, the thumb stash?
I just wasn't sure where this question was going to go and how you were going to answer it, so I got real nervous there for a second.
Yeah, I know.
Just...
Well, I mean, that's about the only way I could answer the question, though.
That's a great answer. Well done.
Good answer.
Well, it was a good question. I've never been asked that one before.
All right. So, what kind? Okay. And theme. What kind of nerd would you like to see on season 4?
Oh, I don't think anything different from. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, I look back on the last 3 seasons as just sort of a pure, joy of different types of nerd, and I would never ask for a type of nerd. I don't. That sort of thing would never occur to me. When I look back at all of you, I think, how incredibly lucky we were to get such a great group of people. And whatever happens with season 4, if we get a season 4, that's the best thing in the world. If we don't get a season 4, at least I know that we've had 3 seasons worth of incredibly eclectic, astonishing people who've given their time to us and given of themselves to us. And you all know that it's not always pleasant, and there are a lot of things that can be unpleasant about it, and people can be cruel and unnecessarily cruel, and it disrupts your own life and it makes for craziness. But for whatever it's worth, our show would not be our show if it weren't for the 3 seasons of people who devoted themselves to it and given themselves to us. And so when I look at a season 4, I can only hope that we get some more of the same that we've had the last 3 seasons.
Or an All-Stars, cough, cough.
Oh, yeah.
Well, you never know.
Everybody.
I'm just joking around.
No. I mean, it's not impossible.
Actually, Curtis, who would you want to see on All-Star series?
Yeah, that's right, Curtis.
That's a loaded question.
Yeah, that's one I'm not going to answer.
His answer is yes, please.
Yeah, that's a good. Yes, please is a good answer. No, I'm not going to say anything about that.
So, how far would you get as a contestant, Curtis? And now I know this is kind of an awkward question because of who writes these, but what would your exit speech be when you inevitably got kicked off?
What?
So the first question was, how far would you make it as a contestant? And the second one...
Hang on one second, will you? You know what? I'm losing my battery.
Oh, no!
Are you there?
Yes.
Yeah, I have to go get my cord. Talk amongst yourselves.
Talk amongst yourselves. Coffee talk.
So, intermission! I'm going to get him out. I'll be right back.
Jonathan.
Yes, hi.
Do you think we're evil and scary now, or have your opinions changed of us?
It's funny, I feel like the people who are posting in this hangout are not consistent with the terrible, terrible things you people say in 4chan. Oh, you guys are just the worst. But you seem
it's okay,
nice
Jonathan, I'm still here with you.
We're the worst, but we're also the best.
I like it when you guys are clever. If you're going to be insulting, that's fine. Just make it clever, right? So.
We are very clever, Fred Durst.
By the way, red shirt guy, Hank, you are muted, by the way. Just give me a heads up.
I know, thank you.
Thomas, are you the DJ here?
Jonathan, have you seen the TV series Bates Motel?
No.
Just a random question.
Does Curtis know about the Fred Durst thing?
I don't think so.
Okay, I'm back. Does Curtis know what?
Oh yeah, we saw this. I think it was on your Twitter recently. You did an interview with Fred Durst.
No, I didn't do an interview with him. I met him today.
Oh, okay.
We were on the same morning talk show here in LA, by pure fluke. We just happened to meet.
How's he like?
Oh, he's great. I mean, it was really wonderful. I mean, we had a great talk, and he's a total nerd, and it was great.
Oh, actually, I've got a good question. Hey, Curtis, if you can have any one celebrity be a guest judge on, say, Season 4, who would it be and why?
That question right there, yes. I'm glad it was asked.
Yes.
Okay, so we're talking about absolute, ridiculous wish list bucket thing?
Yes.
All right, how about one fantasy and one realistic?
Okay, fantasy would be J.K. Rowling. And realistic would be William Shatner.
Ooh. Cool.
But there's actually a few more.
What about Dead or Alive?
Well, no, I would probably go for the live ones. I mean, the dead ones are good, but Probably
No
better.
skeletons.
Yeah, no skeletons. There are a few. There are a few that I'd like to that I dream of having on. But we have
How
to.
about Billy Boyd, which was I was so surprised. I was like, that is really freaking cool. I mean, I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan, but no.
Oh yeah, no, that was very cool. Yeah, there are a lot of things, but you know, a lot of them sometimes. You know, I mean, we were lucky with George Takei the first time, and then the second time we wanted him back, but we wanted to give him something, you know, more. So we actually made him part of the Nerd Off. And I feel like with some of these people, oh, you know who, it was funny, who actually volunteered himself the other day on Twitter was Mark Shepard, who I work with on Supernatural.
That's so
just
cool.
suddenly tweeted that he wanted me to get him a cameo on our show.
That's awesome.
And I'm going to be seeing him tomorrow, and I'm going to hold him to it if we get a second floor. But I mean, it's, you know, if it's somebody like that, or is somebody like, you know, William Shatner, some big person, you know, you really have to find some way to put them in that's going to be worth having them. You know, you know, like we did with George in the second season, where we built a whole nerd off around him. You know, figure it out. But you know, there's lots of people that I would love to have.
I want Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Neil deGrasse Tyson would be wonderful. You know what? You know what though? A lot of these people that you think of, the automatic people, I think they've already done Big Bang Theory, and I think that when they've done Big Bang Theory, which is really popular, and then they come back and we say to them, "Would you do King of the Nerds?" And they're going, "Well, you know, I've already done Big Bang Theory. Why would I do King of the Nerds?"
I would love to see you talk to Neil deGrasse Tyson on Star Talk, because his Star Talk podcast radio, because I think it would be so cool. Like I was tweeting about it because I think it would be, like, I'm a huge fan of Star Talk radio, and like they have, I think what's great about it, I mean, they talk about a lot of very science hardcore stuff, but they also have like intermingled, like, you know, popular stuff, like pop culture science stuff too, or nerdy stuff. And I think it would be kind of cool, like, if that you were on, I don't know, it's like a fantasy of mine having you guys.
I would love to do something like that, except, you know, I mean, you know, somebody like you would be much more qualified than me to actually talk to somebody like that. I would just be an idiot. I
would be starstruck, honestly, with Neil. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but you do have, you know, some knowledge. So anyway, but yeah, there's so many people. But you know, we have to get our season first, and then I'll start. Then I'll start seriously dreaming.
Any chance to get Fred Durst as a judge for a music thing?
Who knows? I mean, you know, Fred is. I don't know that Fred knows King of the Nerds. You know, his main reference was Revenge of the Nerds. So I'm not even. He may know it, but you know, that's always, you know, a possibility. You never know.
Also, Moby was really entertaining. We'd love to see him back because he makes good TV.
I was just thinking about Moby because, of course, the other night, the first time, not the first time, but the first time in quite a while, I saw RuPaul, and it was so funny because here I am. It's the first time since we did the show that I've seen RuPaul, and there's Moby, and I go, "Oh my God!" And he was so nice. He didn't give any of them problem.
Right, I know. I was so random though. Like as an uber RuPaul's Drag Race fan, like I'm in a fantasy league with like Rochelle and Xander and Heather and all of them right now. And it is like, it was such a random thing, like, to see Moby on RuPaul's Drag Race. Like,
and it looked like he was dressed in the same clothes. It was, just, you know, suddenly there he was, just like he was on our show. And
isn't that a style, reality TV casual?
I guess that's it. But it was really funny. I want to say something though about Moby, because it was horrible in a way, and yet it was so funny, and it was such good television, and it was because Heather did what she did, and she stood up for herself, and she just wouldn't take no for an answer, and all that. I have to say that was one of my favorite moments of the whole season, was her taking on Moby. And I told him afterwards, I said, thank you so much. That was really funny. And he looked at me like he couldn't believe his ears, and he said, I think I was just a dick. And I said, yeah, but it was funny. And but I mean, he felt bad. It was like he realized he had gone too far, and I said, no, don't feel bad. It was funny. It worked well. I mean, if he had not had Heather there to smack him down, it would have been really awful. But as it was pretty funny.
Don't mess with Heather.
What?
Don't mess with anyone Heather loves.
Oh man, I wouldn't even dream of that. Are you kidding?
All right. Ooh, I actually found a surprisingly really good question. All right, so back to Revenge of the Nerds. If it was remade today,
yeah,
how would it change to reflect today's different social climate?
Oh, well, I mean, it would be. You couldn't make the movie that we made. There are certain things we talk about this sometimes because with the 30th anniversary and so on that there's been a lot more attention paid to it as a movie that's lasted for a long time, and there are a lot of wonderfully progressive sentiments in that movie that were ahead of its time in a way. But there was also a lot of stuff in that movie that was very much of its time, and I find it hard to watch things in it now after all this time. That there are just things where you just can't look. I mean, it's cringing. I mean, the reality is that there is a non-consensual rape in that movie, which is played off as being charming and cute, which is very much, again, they thought, at the time, well, this is okay because it's okay that he has sex with her without her knowing who he was, pretending to be her lover, because she had a good time. It was good sex, so it was okay. I mean, that was the way people looked at it then, and they tried to make it look like it was okay. It really wasn't okay. And now those kinds of things, those kinds of plot points would not be. I mean, you couldn't do Larry B's character, Lamar. You couldn't do that the way you did it. Whether or not, I mean, when you look at the fact that, when we have that scene, I remember that scene with Bernie Casey where we're all pitching the idea of our of Lambda supporting us, sponsoring our fraternity, and Bobby says, we'll be open to people with all races, people of all races. And creeds, and Larry B says, and sexual orientation. And it's like a joke at the time. And the truth is, of course, we've come a fairly long way since then, although if you read the papers today, it's obvious that we haven't come anywhere near far enough when it comes to fraternities. I mean, what has been going on with this University of Oklahoma fraternity is a good example of, traditional not trilam, but alpha beta behavior, and those kinds of things you could not do now. So if they were going to redo Revenge of the Nerds, they would have to do it in a way that takes some of that into account. And of course, everybody will jump on me about being politically correct, and that's fine. I don't mind being politically correct. There are just certain things that we have to get past, and we're not past them yet. And Nerds is a great example of something that shows that people were trying to get past something, but we're still getting hung up on other things.
Fair. Random question. So, where is Bobby, and why does he seem less involved with everything?
Where is Bobby, and what?
And why is he just seems like he's less involved in the whole
Less involved?
thing.
Did you say less involved? Yeah. Yeah, he's less involved, but that's for one thing, it's easier for me to be involved because I'm here and he's not. He lives up in Santa Barbara, which is about an hour and a half from here, and it's a little more difficult for him to get involved in the day-to-day stuff. And then last year he was living on the East Coast, entirely apart from us. So, but it's really a matter of what the degree you want to be involved, and he is involved as an executive producer in some, particularly once we get into casting and so on. But basically, it's just easier for me to do it because I'm here.
Okay.
And he loves to do it.
Actually, speaking of Bobby, there was an interview with him before the season aired, talking about a fake nerd that was ejected.
You know what? I'm glad you brought that up, because I know that discussion was happening, and I'm honestly, I don't usually come into 4chan, so I didn't know it myself, but I heard from other people about that. It had nothing to do with any nerd that was on our show. It had to do with somebody who was on our list, and I'm not going to mention the person's name, but the person basically fooled us, and it turned out that the person was not really a nerd, and we found out that it had been sort of a he'd been trying to get on for the wrong reason. And to give him credit, he came forward before we got into the final stage of casting, and admitted the fact that he was not really a nerd, that he was doing this to advance his career. And I think he probably figured that once we got into the final casting, we would have found out anyway. So he just bailed, or at least admitted the fact that he was not what he was presenting himself to be. That was, and I know that everybody had theories about who it was, and everybody said, oh, it's Todd the fraud and all that. Well, it had nothing to do with Todd. Todd was never a part of that discussion. It was this other person, and it was done before we even got into the final stage of casting.
Ready? So, next question.
How anybody could say that Todd was not a nerd?
Oh, that's fucking amazing.
You're not paying attention. And that's just...
Yeah.
So
true.
Yeah.
Todd is best nerd.
Yeah.
We love Todd.
Love Todd.
So, next question, I'm going to have to get some explanation help from Fat Guy. He can fill you in on exactly what this question is asking. But could you state for the record how much of a fedora tipper Penn Jillette was?
What? How much of a fedora tipper?
Oh no, Curtis, you not know what a fedora tipper is?
Okay, it's basically somebody like an annoying person that always pushes his own agenda onto people. But basically, it's that, but he's an atheist. He wears a fedora or a tripoli because he doesn't know shit about hats, and things like that. Like how much basically Penn Jillette, when the other person said, "Oh my God," and he just straight up says, "There is no God." Like, how much of that was there?
As far as I remember, I mean, maybe Jonathan can correct me, but as far as I remember, that was the only time he said anything, and I thought it was incredibly funny. I mean, everybody knows he's an atheist.
Yeah, no, he was.
And it was Rochelle who said, "Oh my God," and he just. I mean, it was instinct for him. It was like but at no time during the course of the day, and he was there for hours. I with the two of them in the dressing room long before we got started filming. He didn't just sit there for hours saying, "There's no God." It was just it occurred to him that it was a funny thing to say in the moment. He said it. So
I
laughed hard whenever.
Yeah, I thought it was hilarious.
I thought it was so funny.
I'd say it's a valid synopsis of his entire personality of just he will say anything in the funny in the moment, regardless of what rules you're trying to explain to him.
And it's not like you could say no to him, because that man is massive. I should be afraid for my life to say no to him.
I wish Todd was next to him. I'd like to see a size comparison.
Well, they're totally different body types, obviously, but yeah, he's massive and really funny. And the thing that kills me about that episode is that we talked about it afterwards for hours, because there was no way that we could give you any sense in the final cut of how funny that was. Jonathan, I mean, how long that went on. I mean, it just went on and on and on and on and on. And there was nothing I could do to stop it. Is that because Rochelle, who I thought was going to be just an innocent, actor who came onto this thing because of the things that she had done, and she was just going to be part of the deal, she got so into it. And the two of them just fed off each other for hours. And we couldn't get anybody to shut up, and it was, oh God, it was a funny night. It really was. But
Xander said that was his favorite that he was on set for. He said that he said he could not stop laughing from it.
It was amazing, and we talked about it afterwards about how we wanted. I said something about this on Twitter. I said that this episode is the strongest argument for putting unscripted shows on this, because you want just an hour of the nerd off. The nerd war in this case, because it was so out of control.
So this question came up twice, and I feel terrible for missing it both times. But so the time travel skip from episode 1.
Yeah.
Does that have a point in the finale, or any others of the skits that happened? And yeah, will you see the time travel in the pickle come back again?
Well, I'm not going to say, am I? I mean, why would I say? You have to see the finale to find out.
Hashtag fear the pickle.
That's all I'm going to say on that subject.
Oh, man. Blah, blah, blah. I feel like terrible. Oh, Jonathan posting in 4chan, you are fantastic.
I'm trying to, when in Rome, right?
Jonathan's learning very quick the ways of 4chan. All right, let's see here.
Well, how about one more for me, and then I'm going to have to get going.
All right, let's see. Anybody within the chat group have any questions to send them off with?
There's one I saw that I liked a lot, because I also wonder about it. It's about the casting of King of the Nerds.
Yeah.
Can I come out one?
Yeah, it's basically like, should somebody just focus on a specific subject to be a fan of when they're applying, or should they be listed? Because basically, like, there's rarely, if ever, a jack of all trade nerd in the cast. There's always like one's a writer, one's a scientist, one's a comic book nerd, but there's not like one guy or girl who's like just loves everything.
Well, I'm not. Yeah, I guess I would say as far as the actual casting part goes, I would say the best thing for you to do is to go online and look at everybody's tape, because I think they're all online, and look at the people who were actually accepted and see what they did with their tapes. That doesn't answer everything, because it gives us an idea, but then we then there are further discussions and interviews, so on and so forth. So that doesn't give you everything, but it does give you some idea. But I would disagree with you on your other point, which is that we don't have people who are jacks of all trade, because I think we do. And what happened last week? Was the one where we did the melt your face off. This is, to me, one of the things that I find so appealing about doing this show, is that, and it's hard to tell, again, because of the edit, but what happens in that was astonishing, because it looks like, there were only maybe 2 runs of any particular subject, whatever the subject was, and then somebody makes a mistake, and then we move on to the next one. It went on and on and on, and we have to, out of necessity, cut that down in order to make it work as television. But the reality is, it went on a lot longer than you saw. And when you have something like first generation Pokemon, I'm thinking, first generation, I think, well, Caitlin is going to bomb out on that one. That is totally out of her realm. And she was on it. And, Harry Potter spells, and, what do you call it, constellations, and all of this stuff. Then you get down to Lily and Amanda, and it's down to the periodic table. I don't know about you people. Maybe you're geniuses, and you could go on as long as they did about the periodic table. I know I couldn't, and they went on. This was not their sphere. It was not their area of expertise. Amanda is a bookworm, and Lily is a cosplayer, and yet they were still able to do it. So, I would say that they're a lot more wide-ranging in their knowledge. We have to put some kind of a tag on them in order for the audience to understand why they're there. But that doesn't mean that's the only thing they're interested in, or the only thing that they're good at. They're interested in a lot of things and good at great things, a great number of things. So, going back to the other part of it, I would say that you just you would just say you have to look at the people who got on the show, see what they did with their audition tapes, and that might give you an idea how to do it.
All right.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
Alrighty. Thank you.
Okay, everybody. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much. And
thanks for coming too.
Yeah, I'm so glad you. It's up to Nicole who made me do this, because I was not sure that it would be a good idea. But to you back, and to you Jonathan, and to you Mary Kate, and to you Thomas, and Katie, and everybody else for being a part of it. I appreciate it, and make sure you see the show on Friday, because that's the only way you'll find out whether you'll get the pickle again.
Yeah, there's no way I'm missing it on Friday for sure.
Okay. All right. Good night, all.
Thanks, Curtis.
Bye.
Alrighty.
Woo woo.
Yay!
Oh, that was fun.
Yay!
I was actually too because I was supposed to be doing work for the last hour, but I got roped into this. So you guys all have fun being
Sorry,
mean
Jonathan,
now.
but you have to be social sometimes.
Yeah, I know.
First,
Just this one.
first, everyone say goodbye, and then I'm turning off this chat, or I'm turning
okay.
off air, so we can keep talking.
Bye, awesome people.
Bye, chat.
Bye, guys. Thanks for coming on, Jonathan, by the way.
Thank you for joining, Lance. We're now ending this.
How do I stop
Yeah,
the
no,
podcast?